Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Algonquin Highlands is located on Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. We also acknowledge historic shared presence of other Indigenous nations throughout the area, and we recognize these original inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. The following meeting of the Committee of Adjustment is a public meeting to consider development proposals that don't comply with the provisions of the Township's comprehensive zoning bylaw. My name is Liz Danielson, and I'm the chair of the committee. I'd like to introduce the members of the committee: John Rogers, public member; Christine Sharp, public member; Sabrina Richards, councillor for Ward 2; and Fergus McLaren, public member. We also have Sean O'Callaghan, who is our planner, and Greg Moore, our chief building official. Mr. O'Callaghan will provide a brief overview of each application, after which the applicant or their agent will have an opportunity to address the committee. Following this, anyone who wishes to speak to the application, whether in support of or against, will be given the opportunity to do so. The committee will then discuss the proposal and be given the opportunity to ask questions of both our planner and the applicant. And then the committee will vote to grant, refuse, or defer the proposal. Could I have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda, please? Member Sharp, Member McLaren.
Moved by Christine Sharp, second by Fergus McLaren. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves as circulated the meeting agenda of June 27th, 2025.
All in favor? That's carried. Could I also have a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes of May the 30th? Member Rogers, Member McLaren.
Moved by John Rogers, second by Fergus McLaren. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves as circulated the meeting minutes of May 30th, 2025.
All in favor? That's carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Hearing none, we'll move into new business. And the first item is by Murphy on Cushog Lake.
Thank you. This property is located at 1117 Buckslide Road. The lands are zoned Shoreline Residential 1, Exception 15, and designated waterfront in the official plan. Exception 15 in the Shoreline Residential 1 zone is essentially merging the waterfront piece of property with the piece of property on the other side of the road as one for planning purposes. The lands are approximately 1.19 acres in area with 53.3 meters of frontage on Cushog Lake. Surrounding uses are generally shoreline residential, and the lands are currently developed with a dwelling, sleeping cabin, dock, and a shed. The owner is proposing to convert the existing 904.2 square foot dwelling to a sleeping cabin, as well as maintain the existing sleeping cabin. Both sleeping cabins are proposed to remain in their current location. The following relief is therefore being requested. First, from section 4.2.10 of the zoning bylaw to allow 2 sleeping cabins. 2, from section 4.2.10I to increase the maximum total floor area of a sleeping cabin from 45 square meters to 84.004 square meters. From section 4.2.10.4 to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 30 meters to 1.2 meters for an 84.004 square meter sleeping cabin. Section 4.2.10.4 to reduce the minimum setback from the rear lot line from 12 meters to 2.7 meters for the larger sleeping cabin. And from section 4.2.10.4 to allow 2 sleeping cabins to be located in front of a principal dwelling. Notice of the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, and circulated to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands, as well as to the County of Haliburton and the Cushog Lake Association. No letters of objection have been received. One letter of support was received from a neighboring property owner, and that was circulated to the committee. Staff are not supportive of the proposed minor variance to permit the conversion of the dwelling to a sleeping cabin and for the existing sleeping cabin to remain, as there is limited planning rationale to allow for such a significant variance being requested. Staff would further recommend refusal for the following reasons. The variance is. No.
Just stay out of it, Siri.
Yes. Uh, and the variance is not minor in nature. It is not desirable for the appropriate development or use of land. The general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is not maintained. The general intent and purpose of the official plan is not maintained. And there's no justification for the proposed significant minor variances being requested.
Thank you, Sean. Questions for Sean from the committee members? Member Rogers.
There's a button on the back.
No, they didn't.
Just would the existing cottage be deemed a legal non-conforming use? It seems to be very close to the water, and they say it was built in 1940. Do we have anything to counter that?
Yes, so the cottage right now is considered a legally established structure, so it would have legal non-complying status as a dwelling.
Member Sharp.
Yeah, just along the same lines. So there was the original cottage right now that's on the shoreline. And then there's a proposed new cottage that's going to be built on the back lot.
Correct.
Where's the other sleeping cabin?
Small building next to the cottage.
Oh, I thought it was a shed.
It is a bunkie, yeah.
It was a bunkie. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Member Richards.
If the bunkie that is currently existing is converted to a shed, then the existing cottage could be converted to a bunkie, and then this would all be okay.
The house to be converted to a bunkie still is almost double, if not more, but just under double the size of what would be allowed for a sleeping cabin. So no, it wouldn't. It would exceed what the maximum size for a sleeping cabin.
Member Sharp.
So what I was wondering, Sean, is could the existing cottage that's there, could that be considered a secondary dwelling? If the one that they're building at the back, if it meets the ratio parameter in terms of square footage?
So it would be a secondary dwelling. However, because it's zone shoreline residential 1, you're not permitted to have a secondary dwelling in that zone.
Oh, you can't.
No.
I did not know that.
I'm wondering why it would appear from the documentation now, maybe I misread it, was that they're calling both buildings bunkies, like they're calling them both bunkies. That what could be considered is that on the new construction on the back property could be considered a primary residence. And what is now the primary residence converted to a bunkie. I'm just kind of wondering if there would be things that they would have to do, for instance, like cooking facilities and stuff like that. But because it's existing non-conforming,
Mm.
could there be consideration given to it being called so you'd have a residence on one side, what the existing cottage is now
Yeah.
converted to a bunkie, assuming that the existing little bunkie
Mhm.
is removed.
Yes.
The challenge staff had when I came to my recommendation for refusal is the size of the building. It far exceeds what would be typically considered a sleeping cabin, as well as just its general location to the water. It's quite close. But the size is certainly the primary concern from staff, as well as there's already a bunkie on the property. So we would in effect have 2 bunkies on a property plus a brand new single family dwelling on the other side. And these lots are merged as one for planning purposes, so
Mhm.
that's where the difficulty is for staff.
I just have some issue with, any portion of demolition on the existing building
Mm.
being so close to the lake would be more harmful than having it left as is and, certain things removed from like kitchen facilities
Yeah,
and
I agree.
anyway.
Yeah.
Member McLaren.
Can I ask Sean what you recommend? Like, did you, when you were talking with these folks, what would you recommend to allow?
So I was upfront with the applicants. I mean, they're aware of what my recommendation was going to be. I try to do that with every application, so it's not a surprise. But I can understand the reasoning for wanting to at least see what the committee wants or what the committee's decision is, because you guys are the ones that have to ultimately make the decision. It's difficult for staff to, come up with a solution here, but if it was one bunkie that met the minimum or the maximum size requirements, if it was not exceeding that, then I could see some justification in keeping it. But when you have now two bunkies, one that significantly exceeds the size requirements, that's where there's a big concern from a staff perspective.
Go ahead.
So what about if they tweak the the proposed building in the rear of the property, tweak that in? So I think first of all, you get rid of the little tiny shed bunkie, right? So what if they tweak
Or
the,
convert it to a shed as opposed to
Mhm.
using it as a bunkie.
Mhm.
right? And then they tweak the proposed building in the rear to a bunkie somehow, and then maybe I mean, would that be allowed? Or is there a path there?
So the proposed new build on the other side of the road,
Yeah. Consider modified.
so that was one of the original proposals, is to demo the existing dwelling and rebuild something in that current location on the water side. But again, staff had concerns with that, given that there is opportunity to build on the other side of the road. You could technically rebuild this dwelling at the same size, height, location, and everything. But if you're going to be expanding upon that legal non-complying use, that's when staff need to investigate, is there options to build this somewhere else that would be more in compliance with what our bylaws are trying to direct today? So that, I mean, that option of, building on that same footprint was explored. I don't believe there's an interest in, I mean, the applicants could speak to that, but I'm not sure if there's an interest in changing the development on the other side of the road that's being proposed.
Member Richards.
So I guess then maybe what's before is question of allowing for the existing cottage to be considered a bunkie, even though it way exceeds what we would normally consider a bunkie, provided it is actually a bunkie and not a full cottage with kitchen facilities, etc.
Mhm.
And I guess consideration given to that because it's existing.
Mhm.
It's not something we would typically do if somebody was trying to build new.
Mhm.
Does that have any bearing then on another applicant coming forward saying, well, you let them do it, why can't I?
So there's no precedent setting in planning, so each application has to be evaluated on its own merits. It's one. This is a question that comes up rather frequently when people are looking at demolishing an old cottage and rebuilding something new. Can I convert the old one to a sleeping cabin? And staff have been pretty consistent in not being supportive of those sorts of conversions. Unless, for example, it's significantly further back from the water. But even to exceed the minimum size requirements, I can't recall a scenario where staff have supported that in the past.
Not to say that the committee hasn't supported it from
That's
at
right.
least one
I
that I
think
can
of
recall
one.
in the not too distant past.
Yeah.
Did I see your hand up? Member McLaren.
So I understand that there's no precedence set, but it seems like the neighbor's done this very thing. Am I wrong? They have a neighbor looks like cottage on on the lake side of the road, but then they've got a big cottage on the other side of the road. Like the property literally right beside it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure the history of that or when it would have been approved, or what the bylaws were when that would have happened, so.
But it seems that way to you as well. I mean, I think John nodded. Do we all see the
Mhm,
same
I
thing?
saw it.
I believe that the Murphys are here. If you'd like to come forward and speak to the application.
Thank you, esteemed members of the committee. May I sit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. It's red now. Thank you. I'll attempt to be brief. Just basically a quick history of our being in Algonquin Highlands. My name's Wayne Murphy. I'm retired from the York Regional Police. I spent 30 years there. My wife, Joy, who's sitting in the back corner, she works for York Regional Police, the staff development manager. However, she's on disability right now. We live in Newmarket. We bought the cottage 11 years ago and planned to build something for retirement for both of us as well, too. We have 3 children who spent summers at the cottage, many happy memories of the children enjoying the property along with their friends. We love living in the area. We have good neighbors, and I have also relatives in the area who live on Halls Lake and live across the lake from us. Well, currently we are in good situation with our neighbors. We actually vacation with them in Mexico and Cuba. So it's become part of our life. That's why we don't want to go someplace else. We want to stay here and we'd like to become members of the community. The cottage is approximately 80 to 90 years old. It's approximately 800 square feet. You deal with metric. I'm sorry, I'm not at that stage, but it's roughly 800 square feet. The bunkie that you're talking about is 96 square feet. So in total, it's roughly 900 square feet. When we bought it, it needed several repairs, windows, roofing, siding, chimney repairs. We've strove to employ local tradespeople. Our neighbor, Scott Doan, who runs S&S Construction, he's done a fair amount of work on the property. We don't want the cottage demolished or downsized. We'd like to keep it as is. The landscaping we've kept wild. We tried not to impact the environment as much as possible on the site. If we are allowed to keep the cottage as it is, we could change the bunkie into a shed or even demolish it if that would satisfy certain people. It will not be used as an Airbnb. It will definitely not be a rental. As I said to someone before, when I started policing in the 80s, all the laws favored the landlords. Now all the laws favor the tenants, as well as capital gains over the years. So we never rent it out and we do not intend to rent it out. It'll be kept so that our family and the grandkids don't have to go across the road to get to the big house. They could stay down there. Were you to finalize the variance today, we could get a building permit and we could begin the construction of our new residence. We've contracted Royal Homes out of Midden to do the contracting for us and the building, and we've been quite happy with their services. We ask that you allow us to keep the cottage itself intact. Whatever modifications internally that would need to be done, like taking out kitchens, taking out bathrooms, we're more than happy to do. And as I said, with the 96 square foot bunkie, we would demolish it when nothing would be rebuilt there, or we would just turn it into a shed. If you have any questions for myself, I'd be more than happy to answer them. I may have to consult with our builders when it comes to some technical issues, but I thank you for the time that you've taken to listen to our concerns and listen to our variance.
Any questions for the applicant? Member Rogers?
Just when I look at the site plan, it looks like your septic system is across the road currently. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Okay, so and if the committee did decide to allow this, it would mean taking out the bathrooms, the kitchens, or anything that has a water
I understand.
impact
Yes.
on the septic system. Is that you're okay? You sort of said that, so I just want to make sure you're.
Yes, the septic, there's a transfer pump outside of the property. It goes up across the road. But that whole septic system is quite small, so we're gonna be disconnecting the cottage anyways. And have to build a little bit bigger field to accommodate a full residence.
Just to clarify, you would only be required, I believe, to remove the kitchen facility, not the bathroom. But you
Yes.
would have to ensure that whatever septic system you have in place would accommodate whatever is approved to be
We-
built.
We take direction from the building department on that, yes.
Member Sharp today? Any other questions for the applicant? Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to this application in the audience? So thoughts from the committee? I know this is a rather unique situation. Member Rogers?
It is, excuse me, it is very unique, Madam Chair, and I'm just, but I have this tendency that it's an existing situation. The current building is in good shape and obviously, you folks have taken good care of it. The neighbors have supported it, the one letter we did get, so I'm, again, I'd never like to go against Sean's recommendations, but in this particular case, I think we should be allowing it. One of the things I think Christine raised was if there's a demolition of this building, it's going to do more probably damage. We fill a landfill site with a building that doesn't really need to be demolished at this stage. And there's a whole bunch of other reasons. And in my mind, it just makes sense that we do allow the application on the basis that we do see the second bunkie no longer a bunkie, whether you turn into a shed or do demolish that one. I would be prepared after we hear other comments. I'm prepared to move that we allow the current cottage to be converted to a bunkie at an oversized at the oversized size.
Curtis?
I do have a question, actually. Do you have any insight on what's going on? Is that your neighbor? They have a cottage in the back and a cottage in the front, or can you explain what's happening next door?
The Youngs who next door actually, they send a letter of support as well too. The original property were the cottage that was on that site. On the lake side of the road. On the lake side of the road. And the gentleman built his own house up on the hill. And they do not have water or electricity in that structure. That's one property. It's one property, yeah. The road divided the lots, it's one property. They use it to sit down with the water, but there's no electricity, there's no
Unfortunately, the neighbor's property and how it's been developed has no relevance on this application. Although you can't help but look and see yeah, I know. Comments from other members of the committee?
No,
Sure.
I would just concur with. Yeah, I would just concur with what John said. I mean, looking at this as a very unique situation. And, whether it's 800, 750 square feet, 900, whatever that number is, it looked to me like it was about just under 8. But I would say to leave that existing building intact, convert it to a sleeping cabin, take out the kitchen, and I agree. The other one, if it was a bunkie, I thought it already was a shed, to be converted to a shed
Or removed?
or removed.
Member Richards? Is that a I concur nod?
Yep.
So you have made a recommendation. You're hearing that the committee is, wants to look at trying to support this. I think that we need to see some conditions attached to that. So do you need a few minutes do we need to turn down the motion, or can we revise the motion to?
No, if a member wants to put forward a motion to support the application, I do have a version for that. Just one thing I would want to clarify is the 2 sleeping cabins, because one of the variances being requested was to allow for 2 sleeping cabins. If one's to be converted to a shed, I can remove that variance. Is that acceptable to the committee and to the applicant as well?
Yes, yes, sir.
And as far as conditions, for removing the kitchen and everything from the existing dwelling, we don't need to include that because it's allowing for a bunkie. And so by definition, it has to have the kitchen facilities removed, and they'll have to get a change of use permit through our building department. So, I don't see any conditions being, required because it's an existing structure, as far as setbacks are concerned. So we don't need survey confirmation or anything like that, like we typically would, so.
Other condition being confirmation of septic capacity.
Well, that would all be evaluated, through the building permit process, so.
Member Sharp?
Sorry, Madam Chair. Just, the specifics of removing the kitchen is no sink,
Mhm.
right? No stove,
Correct.
but kitchen cabinets, if they were using them for storage, a fridge.
So it's, the definition is open for interpretation. It's really no cooking facilities or areas to be able to prepare food. So if
Right.
there's cabinets for storage purposes,
That's
in
fine.
my mind, that's fine, but yes,
It's predominantly the running water, kitchen sink, stove,
yeah,
things
yeah,
used.
things
Okay.
like that, yeah.
And sorry, the only reason I'm asking is it's not removal of kitchen, now it's got to be a living room.
Right. I mean, there would have to be some work done to it, I would imagine. I
Yeah.
haven't been inside the structure, but it would, yeah, it wouldn't require an extensive amount of work.
Amount of construction or, yeah, okay, thanks.
Any further comments from yourself, sir?
No, thank you very much for listening to our concerns and for being, considering the circumstances, for being variable on what you need, what can be done.
So could-
Flexible, I mean, sorry, I meant to say flexible.
Any other questions or concerns or comments from the committee? Member Rogers?
I would like to make a motion that we approve the application for the current cottage to be a sleeping bunkie, the second bunkie to be removed or changed and changed or removed, and then whatever other terms you have there, Sean, I would move that.
Seconder? Member Sharp?
My apologies, I did just think of a condition to include, so I'm just gonna write that down quickly, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we do want to make sure that we cover all our bases. It is a rather extraordinary application and out of the norm, but that's what this committee is all about.
I'm sorry, it was Member Sharp that seconded.
Yeah.
All right. Moved by John Rogers, seconded by Christine Sharp, be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves minor variance application HMV 00725 to seek relief from section 4.2.10I of the zoning bylaw to increase the maximum total floor area of a sleeping cabin from 45 square meters to 84.004 square meters. From section 4.2.10.4 to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 30 meters to 1.2 meters for a sleeping cabin. Again, from section 4.2.10.4 of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the rear lot line from 12 meters to 2.7 meters for a sleeping cabin. And from section 4.2.10.4 of the zoning bylaw to allow for a sleeping cabin to be located in front of the principal dwelling, subject to the following condition, that the smaller bunkie be converted to a shed.
Could I just ask for clarification on the resolution? Did I hear you were talking about the rear yard setback? That's for the new construction on the back part of the property. Should we not be calling that a primary dwelling as opposed to a bunkie? I think I heard you refer to it as a bunkie.
No, so the proposed house does comply with our zoning bylaw. The setback is to recognize the existing structure because it's now being converted to a bunkie. We have to recognize the setbacks
Oh,
now
okay.
as they exist for that new use.
So you want to call for votes?
So all in favor of the resolution to approve?
Nope. That's carried. Keeping in mind that there is a 20-day appeal period, so no construction allowed until after that time.
Thank you very much for your time.
So the next application is by Jones on Cushog Lake.
This property is located at 1198 Oliver Road. The lands are zoned shoreline residential 1 and designated waterfront in the official plan. The property is approximately 0.49 acres in area with 30.48 meters of frontage on Cushog Lake. Surrounding uses are generally shoreline residential, and the lands are currently developed with a dwelling, 3 sheds, and a detached garage. The owner is proposing to remove the existing 3 sheds and construct a new 576 square foot detached garage in the same general footprint of 2 of the sheds. The proposed garage will be over 30 meters from the high water mark. It will also meet the minimum setback requirements from the high water mark, the side lot lines as well as the rear lot line. Therefore, so the following variance is being requested, and that's from section 4.2.6 of the zoning bylaw to increase the maximum accessory structure lot coverage from 5% to 6.3% for the purpose of constructing a 576 square foot detached garage. Notice of the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, circulated to the county of Halliburton and to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands, as well as to the Cushog Lake Property Owners Association. No objections have been received. Staff are recommending approval of the proposed minor variance with the following condition: that the maximum principal structure lot coverage be reduced from 15% to 13.7%.
Thank you. Questions from the committee? Is the owner, I believe, is present. Is there anything that you'd like to add? Okay. Hearing no questions or concerns, could I have a mover? Go ahead, Mr. Rogers.
I'm sorry, just wanted one question. In the pictures, there's a picture of a trailer that was under the the protection. Is that in your garage now, or because when I was there, it was your truck was in that where that trailer is located is?
Shifting things around as I do things, but I'm hopefully going to store that trailer between the existing garage and the new.
So you leave it as an outdoor storage sort of thing? Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Mover and a seconder to approve the application. Member Sharp, seconded by Member McLaren.
Moved by Christine Sharp, second by Fergus McLaren. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves minor variance application AHMV 1525 to seek relief from section 4.2.6 of the zoning bylaw to increase the maximum accessory structure lot coverage from 5% to 6.3% for the purpose of constructing a 576 square foot detached garage, subject to the following condition: that the maximum principal structure lot coverage be 13.7%.
All in favor? Oh, did you have a question? That's carried. Thank you. The next application is by Keith on Oxtongue River.
This property is located at 1174 Tom Paris Road. The lands are zoned shoreline residential 1 and designated waterfront under the official plan. The property is approximately 2.53 acres in area with 100.5 meters of frontage on the Oxtongue River. Surrounding uses are generally shoreline residential, and the lands are currently developed with 2 dwellings, a shed, and a dock. The owner is proposing to construct a 2-story garage. The height of a building is determined along the front side, the water side of the building. The slope of the lot will therefore result in a height exceeding the maximum 6 meters. The following variance is therefore being requested, and that's from section 4.2.5 of the zoning bylaw to increase the maximum height of an accessory structure from 6 meters to 6.6 meters for the purpose of constructing a two-story detached garage. Notice the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, circulated to the county of Halliburton, property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands, as well as to the Oxtongue Lake Property Owners Association. No objections have been received. Staff are recommending approval of the minor variance with the following condition: that the garage be used only for storage purposes.
Any questions from committee members? Member Rogers?
Just on the sketch that was attached, it is the blue building that that is the new garage, isn't it? Just want to make sure I was looking at the right spot.
Yes, that is
Yeah,
correct.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Sean? Has there been any comment about the use of the second story?
In discussions with the applicant, it's strictly going to be used for storage purposes. There's no intent to have any sort of living accommodation up there.
Okay. Is the applicant here or wish to speak? Do you wish to speak to the committee? If you do, you need to speak into the microphone. So if there's anybody listening. Okay. Well, if there are no questions or concerns to be raised, could I have a mover and a seconder then to approve the application? Member Richard, second by Member Rogers.
Moved by Sabrina Richards, second by John Rogers. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves minor variance application AHMV 1625 to seek relief from section 4.2.5 of the zoning bylaw to increase the maximum height of an accessory structure from 6 meters to 6.6 meters for the purpose of constructing a two-story detached garage, subject to the following condition, that the garage be used only for storage purposes.
All in favor? That's carried. You heard my comments about the 20-day appeal period and no construction taking place until after that time. Thank you. Okay, finally, we have an application by the Martin family for construction, I believe, of a detached garage on Bear Lake.
Thank you. This property is located at 2395 Bear Lake Road. The lands are zoned shoreline residential 2 and designated waterfront in the official plan. The property is approximately 0.42 acres in area with 31 meters of frontage on Bear Lake. Surrounding uses are generally shoreline residential, and the lands are currently developed with a dwelling and detached garage. The owner is proposing to construct a new 1,248 square foot detached garage. The proposed garage will be over 30 meters from the high water mark. The garage will meet the minimum setback requirements as well from the side lot lines and the rear lot line. The following relief is being requested, and that is to increase the maximum accessory structure lot coverage from 5% to 6.3% for the purpose of constructing a 1,248 square foot detached garage. Notice of the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, and circulated to the county of Halliburton property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands and to the Quagmire Lake Cottagers Association. No objections have been received, and staff are recommending approval of the proposed minor variance, conditional on the maximum principal structure lot coverage being 13.7%.
Questions? Comments for Sean? The only question that I would have is that it also appears to be a two-story building. And I guess I'm just looking for assurance that that will be simply for storage as opposed to additional residential use. I guess it could be considered to be a bunkie under this.
Well, it would exceed the size if the second story is a full story. I believe the intent, okay, it is labeled as storage on the plans. But the committee we can include that as a condition if the committee wishes.
That it be used simply for storage. is the applicant here? Do you wish to speak to the committee? Come forward.
My name is Vern Martin. I appreciate that you're considering this application. It's a large, open, flat lot, so it's quite open. And I've talked to both of the neighbors on all the sides of it, and everybody's okay with it. So, and we're just using the upstairs for storage.
Okay, any questions for the applicant? Here, would you like to make it a condition of the approval that it be used simply for storage?
Make that motion.
Make that motion, Madam Chair, that we approve the application with the additional condition that it be used, the second story be used solely for storage purposes.
Thank you. Seconder? Member McLaren?
My apologies. Who was the mover and seconder? John moved.
Rogers and McLaren?
Moved by John Rogers, second by Fergus McLaren. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves minor variance application AHMV 1725 to seek relief from section 4.2.6 of the zoning bylaw to increase the maximum accessory structure lot coverage from 5% to 6.3% for the purpose of constructing a 1,248 square foot detached garage, subject to the following conditions. The maximum principal structure lot coverage be 13.7%. And the second story being used for storage only.
All in favor? That's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well, that concludes the new business. I don't see any comment about what our next meeting date is.
Um,
Do you anticipate a meeting in July?
yes, yeah, that was scheduled. For the 25th of July.
Okay. Motion to adjourn. Member Rogers. That's unanimous. Seconded by, I think it was Member Sharp.
Moved by John Rogers, seconded by Christine Sharp. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby adjourns its regular meeting at 1:43 PM.